What's up, Internet, and welcome to another old news edition. I am Matt, and this is Hidden Light, and the knocking noises you hear are the neighbors upstairs. Thanks, guys. Glad to have you. So we'll just jump right into the news. We're going to start with some NFT-related things. So I listened to, and I regularly listen to, the Creative Live podcast. I just recently found out that they have a video version of that as well, where you can see these guys hanging out basically on Zoom or whatever. So Chase Jarvis, who I've been following for 1,000 years, interviews Tom, whose last name there's no way I could possibly pronounce, about NFTs, and as a creator, everything you should know about NFTs. Now, us film photography types may or may not be less inclined to get into the whole NFT digital stuff, but I thought this was really interesting. I listened to the whole thing just to get an idea of what's going on. Even though you don't necessarily care about all the latest and greatest in digital gear and technology and stuff, it's still interesting to sort of be up on it. You know, same thing with computer stuff. Same thing with, I don't know, it's just, Jesus. Same thing with pretty much anything. Don't mind the noises. Sounds like somebody's moving in upstairs. Anyway, so I thought this was really interesting. Everything you should know about NFTs. The conversation is guided by Chase Jarvis, who does an excellent job of that. Some people on podcasts don't interview people very well, and they let themselves get distracted, and they're off chasing butterflies, and you're just like, can we get back to the conversation? Chase does a great job. So Chase, good job. So everything you've ever wanted to know about NFTs. Then, courtesy of Petapixel, I'm not trashing on NFTs on purpose. This is just like the chain of things that showed up. Traders are buying their own NFTs to drive up prices, which is apparently something called wash trading, which apparently has been happening to the point where Chainalysis says that the situation becomes even worse when considered the majority of nearly $8.9 million in profit from NFT sales was from unsuspecting buyers who were led to believe the NFT they purchased had been growing in value already. Guys, a lot of these NFTs out in the world are not growing in value. They're not going to do anything in value. Some of them will. Don't hate on me. Don't cancel me. But a lot of them, don't think of a lot of NFTs necessarily as an investment. Think of it more like supporting creators who you like, or think of it as gambling. I like to personally think of purchasing an NFT from someone, if I were to do that, and I wouldn't because I would rather buy a print I can hold in my hands and put up in my wall. I would rather think of that as supporting creators who I like, who I respect, whose work I want to own. I'm not gonna say anything more about that on NFTs. But also, Scent, which I've never heard of before, a marketplace well known for selling the NFT of Jack Dorsey's first tweet for almost $3 million, has halted most transactions except for the sale of tweets due to widespread fraud, i.e., people minting an NFT of something they don't actually own. Like, you can just go take a screenshot of an Ansel Adams photo on the internet and then mint an NFT of that and then maybe sell it. And there are so many people doing so many NFT-related things on the internet now, I have to assume that is everywhere, and that's apparently what Scent found. OpenSea, which is probably the bigger one, the one that I've heard of more frequently than any other of these NFT marketplaces, stated that they've recently seen misuse of the feature increasing exponentially. Over 80% of the items created with this tool are plagiarized, fake collections, and spam. So, if you are in the market for NFTs, for the love of all things that are good in the world, watch yourself. Don't assume that because you buy it, it will increase in value. Don't assume that it has any value. Don't necessarily assume that the person who's selling it to you owns it. Blah. Isn't that the whole point of this blockchain crap? Like, I'm selling a thing and I can prove that I own it because I minted it, because it's me, but also if it looks like it's a photo of that Ansel Adams maybe took. Maybe they don't own it, and maybe they just screenshotted it from the gallery website. I don't know. 3 NFT related things that I just like wham, bam, bam, hit me all at once. And I was like, oh God, this is tragic. If you're not into NFTs, most photographers sell prints, which you can then own, and you can prove that you own them because you have them in your possession. Just a thought, you know, putting that out there. Moving on, no more NFT stuff. Our boy Ribsy, who is a total badass, got his hands on the Lomograflok back. A Lomograflok back is a new-ish thing that Lomography's put out that allows you to take an analog camera and shoot instax wide through your beautiful analog lenses. I played with this morning, actually. I had a chance to play with one. Eric from Raleigh's brought one up so we could play with it. We made a photo of Moose. We'll post that here, and we'll try and do a link to the Instagram reel that I made about it. It's kind of fun. Ribsy's stuff, I think, turns out pretty good in this video that he's doing. But man, what a pain. So you have to, you're shooting on a camera, you focus on your ground glass with the spacer that Lomo provides, and then you pull off your Graflok back, you put this thing on the back of your camera, turn it on, take a picture, and then print the picture through the back of the camera. A lot more difficult than shooting the standard Instax wide camera that you can buy for $150, which I believe incidentally is the same price as this back. The difference is you can use this back on your 4x5 to like check your exposure and stuff, or you can use it, and the thing that I find most interesting is you could use it with like some sick large format lenses. Get that awesome 4x5 fall off from your brass lens, etc., without having to hack the Instax wide camera body. So I don't know, it's kind of cool. It's not as sharp as you'd think, considering you're using big, fun, sharp glass probably. I think that's just a feature of the film or the spacing or who knows what, but it's fun. And that's what photography is all about, right? So anyway, I got to use it. It was fun. Super stoked on that. Ribsy here does a good, I mean, God, what an incredible location. And he does a good job showing off kind of what it's like to use it, which is, like most things large format, somewhat painful. But maybe not too bad. Like maybe worth trying. I don't know. I might buy one. I'm 50-50. If you guys think I should buy one, let me know. I'm not going to do a review on it because reviews and review channels drive me bonkers. But like doing a shoot like he's doing here with it and playing with it might be kind of fun. I want to put it on my 8x10 and use a big, nasty Petzval lens. But I don't own the lens. And there's no way to put that on an 8x10. So there's that. Moving on. This is something I'm actually excited about. So not analog related. I use Instagram. Most people do. We're on Instagram at FlexDefCamera and at Hidden Light. And there's a thing though where you post a story to Instagram, and if you have a reasonably large following, people will they'll do their little reactions, like the hearty face or the emoji happy face or the whatever reactions that they are, and that shows up on your Instagram feed as a direct message when it's not. All it is this person being like, I liked this. And so it just completely ruins your DMs with all this spam. And so what Instagram has done now is they're doing story likes, where you can like a story without it ruining the person's DMs. So if you follow us on Instagram, I encourage you to do one of two things when we post a story. One, like it if you like it. And if you want to start a conversation about it and talk to us, type words. And words with emojis is fine, but just emoji reactions is we just end up ignoring them because, great, I'm glad that you heart, happy, thumbs up faced a story that we did, and that's awesome. But I can't have a conversation in all emojis. I'm incapable of that, and maybe that's just because I'm too old school. So yeah, like or use words rather than just emoji reactions. That's just a thought. Putting that out there. This was the most fun thing that I saw on the internet this week, and it's from 8 months ago, so no shit, old news. So Smarter Every Day posts this thing about how film works. And he gets kind of nerdy and kind of in-depth about it, which is really cool. He shows a lot of the process of using film and going through the whole thing. And he also shows the layers in film and what they look like and what they do. And then he goes and visits Indie Film Lab, which I've never met those guys, but the lab looks incredible. And if my internet connection would work, you'd be able to see what happens in this video. But basically he goes and he gets a tour of the place. He gets to go inside their film processing room and gets to hang out and see the big dip and dunk that they're using to develop film, which is different from how we do it. It was like a really cool behind the scenes of like how film works, the whole process start to finish. And it was also cool to see the Indie Film Lab guys get some love, because we love labs and we love all the other labs and we love being a lab, and I don't know, it's just cool. It was fun. So that is the news. Links to all of these news related things are down below in the link place where links go. Man, I wish I had an internet connection to show you the rest of this video. It's really cool. But I guess you'll have to watch it on your own without me. Anyway, let's move on to Adventure Time segment. This is my recent trip to, where did we go? Oh, Oak Creek. Brought the 8x10 and took some photos. I haven't even seen the film from this yet. This was like a couple days ago, so check it out. What's up? Adventure Time, day 1 of 1. Me and Alex are trying something a little different today, trying to get you a little bit more footage of what's happening as I'm shooting 8x10, because 8x10 requires a lot of my brain space, and so I can't then also try and vlog it very well. I mean, I can try, I'm just not very good. So we're trying to like up that production value so you guys can see my idiocy from multiple angles. So that's great. So we're headed down today to Oak Creek again. I've been down the last 3 weeks running, and out of all of that and all the photos I've taken, I've gotten like 2 that don't just absolutely suck. So today is redemption day, hopefully, with any luck. So yeah, cruising down to the creek. It's Super Bowl Sunday today, and I figure there's no better way to spend Super Bowl Sunday than not watching football, because I'm not a football guy. So let's get after it. All right, packed everything up and we're moving on, cruising down this actually very well developed trail with this incredible scenery everywhere. I mean, damn, real pretty. And hunting for a spot in the shade on the creek, which will give me an excuse to drag my shutter a little bit, get a little bit lower contrast in the scene, hopefully. That's about a second. Just cozied up here inside my little dark cloth. Lots of foreground here. And then in the background, as you get back there, there's a little bit of nice reflected light. So, gonna try and snag one of these. That's it. I took 8 pictures. Sorry, I made 8 photographs. Because an 8x10 man doesn't take pictures, he makes photographs. It's gorgeous down here. Lovely to get out and about, set up the camera, play around a little bit. And now that we've done that, time to pack it up and go home. Great success. We did it. We took pictures. Many, many pictures were taken. And now we're back in the car, and it's time to get the hell out of here. What was that, like 4 hours plus? Not too bad, all things considered. Got to go wander around the creek. Got to take some pictures. We'll see how those turn out. I can go either way on how that was. I shot pretty much everything straight on the meter, which is good. Unless the meter was lying to me, in which case it's really not good. So we'll find out like middle of next week. And now we've got a gorgeous drive from Sedona, where it's 66 degrees and perfect, to Flagstaff, where it's probably gonna be windy and less perfect. Anyway, onward and upward. That was fun. It's always good to get out, you know, go in the warm, go hang out by the creek, especially when it's Super Bowl Sunday and nobody's around and you get mostly the place to yourself. So that was a lot of fun. Comment if you like. How did you like it? Was it better, me bringing a real videographer rather than just attempting to do it on a GoPro? Just say yes, and then we'll keep doing that, because it's more fun for us, gets us out of the house, and hopefully it looks better. So let's jump into some FAQs. Now, I don't have enough comments from all of you beautiful people in the comment section where comments go, so I've taken to just wandering around the internet and finding frequently asked questions that have to do with analog photography. So one of the ones that I see, especially recently, especially like in the last couple of months, has been people like, okay, I'm really stoked on analog photography. I love the idea of shooting film. I love the not instant gratification, delayed gratification, but I am super overwhelmed with how to get into it. What do I do? And my answer to that one is actually reasonably simple. It's start slow and start easy. So it's really easy to get into film and buy the big scary camera that's all manual and a huge bunch of film stocks and like get intimidated and freaked out. So what I recommend people do is buy an inexpensive film camera that you can get from a reputable place like us, or like KEH, not sponsored, or you know, wherever you can buy a film or analog camera. Get one with an automatic mode, just so that you don't have to deal with that, right? And then buy some film that you can get anywhere local, anywhere inexpensive. Don't spend, you know, $20, $25 a roll to start necessarily. Like, you could start cheap and spend $4, $5, $10 a roll and slam through a roll and see how it goes. You know, go just take pictures of stuff because it's fun to take pictures of stuff. See how that works. See what everything comes out as. And get it processed by someone else, right? Start having your film done in a lab. And as you get comfortable with the process of loading the camera and shooting film, start slowly introducing new things, like developing your film at home, or like playing with all manual control on the camera, or by comparing different film stocks. But do them one at a time and get comfortable with each addition before you then move on to the next crazy thing, because it's a lot, and it can be really intimidating and scary to get just like balls deep. Ooh, probably shouldn't say that. To get really into this analog thing and do all the things all at once, just try one at a time and see how it goes. So that's what I recommend. There's plenty of labs that'll sell you film, that'll process your film, etc. So try that. Here's one that I see a lot, and that starts fights on the internet, which, as you know, is very difficult to do. Everyone on the internet is really well behaved all the time. Am I allowed to edit analog photos? And if so, how far can I go? And what's allowed? Let's be very clear. This is your photography. You can do whatever you want. You can take your scans from the lab and don't even touch them and upload them to Instagram and take your film and throw it away. And that's okay if that's what you want. You can take raw files from a lab, invert them yourself, spend hours and hours perfecting every image, removing every tiny little imperfection, cropping, replacing skies. You can do any combination of the above. This is your photography. It's about having fun. It's about expressing your own creative vision. And who cares what anybody else says about any of that? If you are super into sky replacements and you're also super into shooting Cinestill 800 and you want to shoot all your skies in 800T and then replace them around, do whatever you want. It's great. You're allowed to do that. I recommend personally taking the scans you get from any given lab and just giving them a couple of tweaks to make them fit your vision, make them fit that particular image. We're going to do a video about that. We haven't done it yet, but we'll walk through kind of recommendations for editing your files. Editing is fine. You're not going to hurt nobody. You know, the pictures you see pretty much everywhere have been edited in some form or another. Even Ansel Adams was editing his photos. He did it in a darkroom. But if you take a straight print from one of his negatives to the finished print on the wall that sells for $2 million, they look nothing alike. So, just a thought. You know what I mean? Here's another one. How important is it to tell the lab that I under or overexposed my film? It matters a lot if you want the lab to over or underdevelop your film to match what you did to it. For instance, if I shoot a roll of T-Max 100, but I push it, I rate it at 1600, if I don't tell my lab, that film will come back almost blank. It's going to be completely ruined. So you have to tell your lab, hey guys, you need to push this in development because I didn't give it any light when I was doing this to start with, and it needs a huge push. That's important. If you don't want the lab to change the way that the film is processed and you're overexposing or underexposing intentionally to produce an effect, but you want it run normally, that's different. For instance, I've taken to shooting Fuji films, specifically like C200 or Superia 400, and recently I've been overexposing them by a stop and developing normally. I found that tip on Grainy Days did that with Fuji 400, Pro 400H, RIP, and he found that he got better color out of some of that and less crunchy shadows, which I liked. We'll link to his video down below also. So in that case, I'm shooting the film overexposed by a stop. I'm rating it at 200, but I want it developed normally so that I get properly dense negatives, which gives me information throughout the entire image, specifically in the shadows, that is useful. So I don't tell the lab to do anything. I just say, hey, here's my film, run it like normal. So it depends on what you're trying to do. Anyway, yes and no. Let's see. I'm interested in developing film and making prints at home. How do I do this? Some of this is easy and some of this is less easy. Developing film yourself is actually not that hard. You can do it for like $100 in stuff. You know, you need the reels and the tank and the chemicals and a changing bag, etc. But you don't have to have a dark room that's sealed off from the rest of the world. You don't particularly need aggressive ventilation because most of the chemistry you can just pour down your sink, you know, whatever, don't worry about it. So developing film is reasonably simple. I would start there. Like my mug, it's custom. I would start there. Start with developing film because it's reasonably simple and it gets you used to the idea of developer, stop, bath, fixer, right? In a way that you can still see what's going on around you. Then, if you're still interested in making prints, two different ways you can do that. You can answer the phone. It's always me. Why does my phone always go off? Not answering the phone. He's going to call back though. Sorry, where was I? Oh, printing at home. So if you're printing at home, you can do it from scans from your negatives. Go buy yourself an inkjet printer. They're not that expensive. As long as you continuously use an inkjet printer, it's fine. I don't think that's what most people are talking about. When you want to print at home, you're talking about printing darkroom at home, right? In that case, you do need a room that's reasonably well sealed off from the rest of the world. that you can then make a dark room, put in a safe light, put in an enlarger, and make prints that way. It's a little bit more difficult. You can find enlargers, lenses, trays, chemicals, paper everywhere. They're usually free / cheap unless there's something that's been tested and is being sold by a store. Like, for instance, we sell like 2 enlargers a year. They're used. We know they work. People buy them, set them up at home, in the bathroom. Bathrooms are small rooms with running water that you can typically light tight without breaking the bank. Taylor, who runs our silver gelatin darkroom here and does all the film development, actually had a closet once where he would, cart in his trays and he would hang it on his closet. And aside from the fact that it had no ventilation, it worked great, right? Anywhere you can light tight the space and fit the stuff you need to fit. The enlargers are kind of big, and a couple of trays, you're fine. I've seen them, people set up like really tiny setup. Like the entire thing is the width of the enlarger, and then there are trays. Developers the first tray underneath it. Stop bath goes underneath that. Fixer goes under. Like you can do like a vertical setup and take up very little room, which is kind of cool. If you need help, asking the internet's a good way to go, or asking a lab like us. Be like, hey, what do I need? Well, you need an enlarger, lens, trays, tongs, chemicals, paper, maybe filters if you want to like really go for it, film carriers. There's a list, but if you go in somewhere and just say, hey, I want to do this, what do I need? How can I get there? Any reputable place will be like, here's how you do it, right? And we have most of this stuff laying around. So if you need some, let us know. We'll hook you up. Anyway, that's good. Oh, this is a fun one. We'll show this photo here. Anyone know why I'm getting halos on bright lights at night? This is a question I answer fairly regularly for people who have purchased a film with no anti-halation layer and don't know it. It's a very cinematic look. Basically, you take any bright highlight and it just sort of explodes in this foggy, mystical, almost like you're putting a Pro Mist filter on your camera, which is another thing that Pro Mist filters will do, is they'll just take your highlights and nuke them like that. Anti-halation layers are on most films. Halation is where you basically have your light bouncing around between the film and the back of the camera and whatever, and what it's doing is it's spreading that exposure out further than it needs to. An anti-halation layer stops that bounce, right? And so you'll get sharper, clearer, extreme highlights. Films with no anti-halation layer will let it bounce all over the place like this, like Cinestill's films, Cinestill 800T. Its signature look is its tungsten balance, and there's no anti-halation layer, so your highlights just go bonkers. A lot of really high-speed films also have no anti-halation layer, so the extreme highlights in those will kind of go nuts. If you want that look, you can either buy regular film and use a Pro Mist, because that'll get you most of the way there, or specifically look for films with no anti-halation layer, and then you can get that look. If you hate that look, some people are really super not about it, especially the pixel peeping, whatever types. Make sure that the film you're buying has a anti-halation layer. For most films that you can buy anywhere, you can go look at like examples of photos taken on that film stock, and that's a really quick way to tell. If the highlights are going crazy and glowy and orby, then no anti-halation layer. Anyway, that's all I can really think of. If you have any questions, put them in the comments so that I can answer them. And I guess we'll see you in the next one.